There's only really a handful of plugins that I would use on every single mix that I do, and Saturn by Fabfilter is definitely on the top of that list. And so for this video, all I want to do is jump into a session and show you exactly how I like to use Saturn on drums, guitar, anything, you name it. But before we jump into the session, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this in the future, like plugin reviews and mixing tutorials. So if that's something you think you'll be interested in, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And if this video helps you in any way, give it a like. All right, so me being a guitarist, we might as well just start on the guitars and how I like to use Saturn to create more mid-range information. So I'll play you the guitar part and I'll just turn Saturn on and off so you can hear what it's doing, and then I'll explain exactly what I'm doing with it. So I don't know if you guys can tell in that, but to me, once the plugins are activated, you can really hear the mid-range tighten up. When the plugin's off, it almost sounds like the mid-range is scooped a bit, and that might just be due to how I EQ'd beforehand, but this really brings the life back into the mid-range, which is really what we want. So looking at Saturn right now, I've got 3 bands activated. I've got a low band, a mid-range band, which is the most important one, and then a high-end band. Now the low and high-end bands aren't really doing anything, but it's really the mid-range where all the magic happens. So this mid-range band is between 283 Hertz and 952. Now that just depends on where the mid-range lies on your guitars, so you'll have to listen to it and have a look at the spectrum to see exactly where it is. So if I click play on the guitars, you can kind of see the guitars dip down in the middle there, and that's where I've decided to put my band. Now all I've done is put the warm tape setting on and turn the drive up to 100%. Now you don't always need to turn the drive up to 100%. It really depends on how you want it to sound. Just try and spend your time dialing it in, seeing how it sounds, seeing how saturated you want the mid-range to be, and adjust accordingly. So on that band, I've turned it down to negative 4.4 at the moment. Just experiment turning it up, turning it down, see how much mid-range you want to add into it. You can tell as I turn it up, the more I turn it up, the more intense the mid-range will sound. Now I like a little bit of a scoop sound, so having it down negative 4 dB is good for me. So another thing I like to do with Saturn is create bass tones from scratch, but I think I might save that for another video just to go more in depth with it. But this other thing that I like to do is just put it on rooms and sculpt the rooms rather than using EQs. So here I've got it on a snare room. I've obviously done a bit of sculpting beforehand with EQ, and then I've put it on top. Now I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen Buster do this, and that's where I got it from. But basically all this is dividing the room up into different frequency bands and then saturating to your own preference and then turning up and down what you like. So for the low band, I've got it on the warm tape setting, and I've just saturated it a little bit less than the rest of the frequencies because I don't want that low end to build up too much. My second band is between 300 and 1200 Hertz, and I've got that on warm tape again. I've got the drive at about 55%, just kind of adding some texture to that mid-range, but then also bringing the volume back down to keep the snare room sounding smooth. Now the other 2 high bands I have saturated about the same amount, and I've turned those down because I don't want the room to be too harsh. So you can really hear how it brings the room together, livens it up, and just makes it sound massive. And also I think it just kind of sculpts the sound a little bit that you can't really get with an EQ. So those two are the main things that I like to use Saturn on, as well as the bass obviously, but I'll get to that later. You can really use this trick on anything. It's up to you how you want to try it out, what you want to try it out on. There are also a lot of cool presets inside of Saturn that you can try using to see what kind of cool sounds you can get out of it. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit me up in the comments. If there are any specific plugins that you want me to test out and try mixing with or show you how to use, just let me know in the comments below.